Good morning, traders. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. Sorry, today is Wednesday, October 20th. I forgot to tell you the date. How are you going to go on in life if I don't tell you that? So what are we looking at for the market here this morning? I'm going to start a little bit zoomed out just because I want to talk about the weakness that's below the market. We have a gap that we left behind yesterday. We also have gaps that we left behind on the 14th. And we have a gap that we left behind on the 13th as well. Okay, so what those gaps represent is weakness in the market. And oftentimes that weakness needs to be repaired by price. Okay, price has to pull down and repair that weakness. Another way that you can repair weakness in the market is just using time. So the idea is that if you spend enough time at higher prices, the market just accepts it and no longer needs to pull back down. Okay, so that's two different narratives to keep in mind. Sometimes you create excess and you need price to come back down and repair it. Sometimes you create excess and then time can just repair it by staying higher and then moving higher from there. These are both options for how the market can repair weakness. Okay. So we got a lot of weakness before us, which makes me nervous to be a bull coming into the morning this morning because I'm feeling like, man, we got that gap from yesterday that needs to be filled. We've got the gap from the day before, the gap from the day before. We got these weak references from the 18th still sitting down here. Lots of weakness, lots of reasons to get nervous for a pullback. But then I look at what the overnight market did, which was created a gorgeous bell-shaped curve, just beauty, finding support at yesterday's high. Look, most of the volume was put in right at yesterday's high, which is generally what the market does before it's ready to break out to higher prices. They also put in, it's not perfect, but they put in a decent 45-degree angle here on the lows. That is often very strong support. And what does it correspond with? The volume from yesterday, right? So they traded into the area where we built up support yesterday, and they found support there as well. So that is a little bit bullish, and I would look for the market to find support by the time before it gets to these lows. Now, if it breaks below these lows, if it gets below, let's say 45.03, then you might be targeting that gap fill to the downside, right? But as long as it can hold support up here in this area, that is bullish for continuation higher, and maybe even as high as the all-time highs. Okay. But if that level breaks, if this area where the overnight low, where the volume node from yesterday kind of breaks and goes lower, then we target the gap fill, which is trading down to the high from 2 days ago at 44.7975. The interesting thing about that, though, is there is a lot of support in there as well. So if the market were to trade down to there, it could easily find support. You got the base of the spike there, which is commonly support. And you've also got this node from the overnight 2 nights ago, which could act as support. So, it's like bigger picture, stepping back, the market's got a lot of weakness where it might need a large pullback, but it's also got lots of places where it can just find support, turn around, and head right back up. So I don't want to be bearish unless I get the signal that I need to be bearish. And then I only want to be bearish to the next point is essentially what I'm saying. So we break below that 45.03 level. I'm bearish down to fill the gap, but not beyond that. I'm going to be open to the market finding support there and vice versa on the way down. With continuation on the way down. So now what about on the way up? So we opened this morning with a gap. Another one. So we've got gap number 4 here. Okay. The chart hasn't printed it yet, but you'll see it there in a second. So that gap fill is going to be the first thing to look at. Does the market fill that gap? If not, it's another 4th day in a row gap and go. And we should expect it to act like every other day and push higher. Okay. So there's your gap, those green lines. Oh, I was gone for the M period. Looks like we got a little spike in the M period yesterday as well. Okay, so just once again, to get simple with it and just bring everything I just said together, the first thing I'm looking for is for the market to trade down to yesterday's high. If it finds support there, I look for continuation higher. If not, I'm looking for support at the overnight low, or actually really anywhere in here, anywhere in this area, I'm looking for support. And only if we break these levels here am I really getting bearish. Otherwise, anything in here, I assume is going to find support and then continue higher. It's a bull market, you know. All right. Good morning, Mangala. Good to see you. Welcome. Good morning, RK. Good to see you. Philip, good morning to you. Doug, welcome. Naif is with us. Good morning to you. I went into yesterday's stream video and was showed an ad for mushrooms, like the magic ones. It's time to do research. As a matter of fact, Johns Hopkins just got funding from the government for their magic mushroom research, which they've been doing for a few years. But it's now government sanctioned. So there you go. But Naif, just so you know, those ads are based on you. Google uses your search history and your online activity to pick ads. So there you go. Second good morning, Mangala. Good to see you again. Less Fuel, good morning to you. David back with us, good morning. Mangala, very upset that nobody's saying good morning back to him today. Alexander, good morning to you. Naif, they have free and discreet shipping. Bro, email me that link. Malcolm, good morning to you. Nicholas, good morning. Cotton Dog Charles, do you see a spike in yesterday's M and N periods? Yeah, I wasn't watching when it happened, but yeah, it does look like it spiked. Yes, sir. It was only a few ticks, but that does count as a spike, which means spike rules are in play. And when you open above a spike to the upside, that is the most bullish scenario. So very bullish to see. Jose, good morning to you. Designed up. Good morning, you scrubby-ridden landlubbers. Designed up. Yeah, I know. I may have made that confusing this morning. He's joking. So you're saying there's a good chance it could go up. There's a good chance it could go down. I would say if it's going to go down, I'm watching closely for where it finds support. That's what I would say. I don't think it has to go down that far. But of course, I'm open to the reality that it might need a massive pullback because we have those three gaps. But we talked about this in the Brigade room yesterday. Like, I believe that momentum outpowers weakness in structure. So if the momentum continues, then we go with the momentum. We don't worry about the bad structure. The bad structure will get repaired, but it'll be like a month from now. It won't be today. So how do we know if the momentum is continuing? Well, you gap higher, you push higher, and then you rotate at higher prices. That is acceptance. You gap higher, you push higher, you rotate it higher. That is acceptance. We've had that for 3 days in a row, and we're now on day number 4. So the momentum in this market is still going. And so I don't want to let my fear of the weakness in structure stop me from going long into this momentum. At this point, it seems to me they're looking at that all-time high. And so I don't want to get distracted with the weakness below if that's the target to the upside. Okay, so now we got a great little node of volume to see if it'll act as support when the market pulls back down to it. So here we go. We're now testing this node we just built as potential support. If it doesn't hold and the market starts to trade back below the opening price, we're probably going to need to fill that gap back to yesterday's high. Is a holding. J Trader, good morning to you. Mangala is bullish. Bullish. It's getting close to Halloween. JG with the GM. Good morning, my friend. David, good to see you. David V. Miles plus ES. Not sure what that means. Freddie Gray, good morning to you. Donkey, I've been doing magic mushroom research for decades. And what's the results? Have you figured out that the whole universe is just love and kindness and we're all connected and all living things are all the same? We are the trees. We are the soil. We are the sky. Love, man. Spread love. Two Manifs, good morning to you. I have never say never. Never. Arthur, good morning. Thank you, Peter, for saying hello to Mangala. Poor guy was really looking for it today. And RK, thank you. Mark, good morning. Kim, good to see you. Ronald back with us. All right, well, as they start to pull the ticks back above the zero line, I say to myself, Charles, what does that say? What is that signal that it's giving? Well, that's a signal that the buyers are stepping in. Buyers are stepping in on top of the gap. That's setting us up for a gap and go. J Trader, hit that like button. Yes, thank you, sir. My fine followers here, let's hit that like button. Let's support the channel. It also brings good karma. SKU, was it a short squeeze last evening? What do you think? I don't know what you mean. Do you mean at the end of the day for the regular trading hours? No, not at all. That was just rotation. Right? These people up in here, right? Sorry, let me rephrase. As the market's trading its way higher, you run out of buyers up here. So then the market has to pull back a little bit to entice new people to buy. The same way, after a while, if nobody buys a car, the dealership has to lower the price a little bit to get somebody to come buy the car. The market just had to lower the price a little bit to bring in more buyers. But as soon as it did, it didn't even make it to halfback. It got to the very first tick of volume down here. This was the node that could have acted as support. The very first tick of volume, the buyers stepped right in. So no, that wasn't a short squeeze. That was new buyers participating. Doug, bro, I love this. You're right. It's so simple. You buy it and then you just sell it for more than you bought it. And if it's not going to go up, just don't buy it. Gorgeous. It's like you buy low and you sell high. Gotcha. VIX is free to wake up. Nothing happening with the VIX. Dude, it's low. How low can you go? Ed, welcome. I'm glad you found me, brother. I'll give you a quick rundown of what you're looking at because it's probably a little bit confusing. So this is called market profile software. It's essentially looking at the exact same data as regular candlesticks, but it just shows it in like a 3D format. So you can see both time and volume at each individual price level. So what you're looking at over here on the left, where you see it's kind of like blue, like dark blue, light blue, that's the overnight. So that's from the market close yesterday to the market open this morning. And that just kind of shows you can see the shape of the profile. It shows you where the market spent the most time. That's where the most letters are. And where the market put in the most volume, which is where the darkest like candlesticks, the volume candlesticks over here on the left are. So we could see the market spent the most time and volume in this area. And then what you're looking at over here on the right, this is the regular trading hours. So this is from market open this morning. And I've actually got two profiles next to each other, which is why you see two A's. So one is collapsed in like this. You can't see it now because there's only one time period. And then the other one is expanded out. So it would look like that right there. So that's why there's two A's next to each other. Each letter represents the 30-minute time period, so same as like a 30-minute candlestick. And the blue box that you see here, that like kind of blue rectangle that's around there, that is called the value area, which is essentially where 70% of the day's trade took place. But welcome. We're happy to have you. Ask all the questions you have. Freddie, what you're describing is what happens to so many people. TM, good morning. Just joining. Overnight auction, old business. Didn't dip yet. Probably very bullish. Yeah, we call that a gap and go. Market can just go, go, go in the direction of the gap. That's why they use these little arrows to remind you which direction the market's going. To the upside. Okay, so that old poor high left behind from the 9th is now repaired. ES is looking a little stronger than the NQ here. Okay. Well, I do think we need to pull back a little bit down here to bring in some more support because we have this really thin volume, but I am bullish. This looks like a gap and go. So I will change my stance if we get below the opening price. So if we pull back down and we get below that opening price right at 45.15, then I'll look for that gap fill to yesterday's high. But as long as we stay above this node, I assume we're going to get continuation higher. Momentum, guys. This market has taught me that lesson over and over again. You cannot ignore momentum. Even if it's irrational, it still keeps going. They can push it. How does the candle get represented by a letter? That's just the way the program is, the software is programmed. You can actually change it to anything you want. You can make it like little squares or circles. You can do numbers. You can do symbols. You can do whatever you want. I just like the simplicity of the alphabet because I know the order. Metateric could be a short around 24. You seen some resistance in there? Oh, yeah, I see that. Looks more like 28 to me. Oh, yeah. One thing you can look at if you're trying to guess, is the market trending higher, or is this just like, over exuberance, right? Like, did the market just get a little bit ahead of itself? Is you watch how the market builds volume. Does it create like a node like this and then push higher and then create another node higher? Or does it pull back in here and then backfill all of this? If it starts coming back in here and bringing in a lot of volume in here, that's more of a sign that it got a little bit ahead of itself. But if it can start to build volume above, that is a sign that it's beginning to trend higher. Skewball, yeah, man. This is the way. Play what you see, not what you think. It's so hard to do sometimes. Somebody asked me that question the other day in the private stream. They asked, like, if you, like, how often when what you think is happening, you know, contradicts the market generated information. Like, they don't line up. Contradicts the market generator information. Like, how often do you take trades like that? And I didn't really have a good answer, but I thought about it later and I realized that keeps me out of trades. Like, if the market, is bullish, it's giving me all these signals. You got the gap and go, you're building volume higher. You don't really have it in the ticks right now, but let's just say the ticks were trending higher. You're getting all these market generated signals that the market wants to go higher, but you feel like it needs to pull back. Your intuition is saying it needs to pull back. I just don't take a trade then. I realized later thinking about it, I really need both to line up. I need the market generated information to tell me and my intuition to agree with it before I will actually enter a trade. But I'm the cautious type. There you go, Jason. Thank you, Donkey. All right, does the NQ just fill its gap? Yep, NQ filled the gap. Same as the ES. I would say, if that overnight low breaks, then you're pulling back lower to try to fill the gap from yesterday. So that overnight low is going to be, well, let's go a little higher than that. Let's call it, if 15,370 breaks, you're going lower. Back to the ES. Brian, why don't I use the N and O periods in regular trading hours? I just don't. I don't have a good reason. I used to include the 15-minute runoff after the market closed, but I don't remember exactly why I switched. But honestly, I don't think it matters that much, man. It's like, You can add on that 15 minutes. You can add on the pre-market as well if you really want to. It's not really going to make any difference, right? I guess it'll make a little difference in volume and stuff like that, but all in all, it's pretty much, the market is moving in one giant flow up and down. So it's like, do you put a little bit of that flow over here or over here? Kind of the same thing. That sounded very confusing. I'm sorry. NQ struggling. ES pump is fake. Well, like I said, if we get back below that opening price, we'll know the pump is fake. But until then, not fighting that momentum. Not me. Oh, thank you, Cotton Dog, answering the question for me. Fausto, how long did it take me to get profitable with him, the market profile? About 6 months. But of course, it's not because of the market profile, right? Cotton Dog, it accepts how if you see end of day spikes. That's true. But see, to me, I only really care about the regular trading hours. That's the only time I'm taking trades. So if they're going to spike it, they got to do it before 4. Tale of two markets here. NQ looks like it's starting to trend down. Well, the ES is trending up. Interesting. Another thing that would get me bearish is if these ticks start to pull below the 0 line. Or not bearish, but neutral. Yeah, Brian, like I said, man, I don't have a good answer on those. You might see a spike, you might see a gap and go, you might this or that. It's like I set up my software exactly as it is, and I spent, like I said to Fausto, it took me probably about 6 months of watching how it works every day, and then I started to receive insights on how the market moves. And started to build confidence in those insights. So I don't really think it matters. Have your settings however you have them, just you have them the same every single day. And then your brain will learn to recognize the patterns. That's just the way I see it. I don't really get too caught up in the specifics. I remember when I was first taking courses with Jim Dalton, it would be like I'd be looking at his screen and then my screen, and like the value area might be a few ticks off, or like the high or low of the day might be a few ticks off. And I'd be like freaked out. Oh no, like it's not lining up. It's not going to work. And then I eventually realized it doesn't matter. I'm trading what's on my chart, and that's all that matters. And what's the average number of trades I take a day? There is no average. I just take what I see. Some days I take 10, 15 trades. Sometimes I take 2. I took 2 trades yesterday. It just depends. Depends what I'm seeing. There's no rules to this thing. Mediterra, let's see if it holds here. Yes, sir. For my money, it's the opening price. It's this node of volume here that's the potential support. But yeah, if we get below that, we're definitely going to backfill this gap. NQ is a weight. It's tugging on us. It's like, what's that, ES? You want to go up? No. That's interesting, Cotton Dog. I kind of feel like it's been the opposite. I feel like the NQ's been kind of like laggy, and the ES has been pulling it up. All right, well, these ticks clearly are not showing any momentum. So the argument in my mind that the momentum will continue that we've had every other morning, that argument is starting to wane a little bit, but still just keeping my eye on this node of volume as support. Oh, that's right, Fred. Yeah, NQ Monday was nuts. That is a good point. That was a crazy day. It was like nothing but green candles. All right, we got 134 people watching. Channel is slowly growing, guys, but only 57 likes. Tell me what I got to do to earn those thumbs up, guys. You just hit me in the chat and you tell me, and I'll do it. Unless it's I have to sing to you, in which case I will not. Not on command. Face reveal? Never. Keep it open all day to see value for the day. What do you mean by see value? And is Bitcoin at its all-time high? To the moon. J Traders long likes. That's awesome. Of course, I will sing in the private stream. I mean, those are paying customers. Paying customers get what they want. Are you trading BTC futures, Donkey? Interesting. What is the all-time high for likes? Great question, Amgos. I think it's 115. So technically, we could break that today. There's 127 people here. Yeah, how's Bido doing? Oh boy, it's pumping. They got a gap as well this morning. R, I love where your mind's at. I'm down like Charlie Brown. Okay, so this isn't feeling as much like a trend day. And if you guys remember, earlier I explained why. Because generally, if it's going to be a trend day, it's going to build a node of volume, then push higher, and then build another node at higher prices. So the fact that it had to pull back down and really work to bring in the buyers in here is actually a little bit less bullish. But of course, the market is still not trending, but still pushing higher. So still not looking for a short. Looks like the Q may have finally found some support. Ooh, right there at the lower end of that volume node from the overnight and the market yesterday. Fred, how is somebody who's a layman who doesn't understand anything about options because anything more complex than up or down is complicated to them? How do you know what the market is pricing in? What move the market is pricing in? How do you get that information? At the money straddles. Interesting. But is there like a website you go to that just like plays out those numbers for you? Just shows you like this is where it's priced in or whatever. Um, David V. Charles, do you have any thoughts on the relationship between the point of control and halfback? There is no relationship between the point of control and halfback. They are completely separate from one another. I know right now they're on top of each other, but that's just a coincidence. The halfback is literally half the range. So from the high to the low, it's exactly the middle. So every time the market moves, 2 ticks up, it pulls that up 1 tick. Whereas the POC is calculated totally differently. So I don't think there's any correlation there. Rocket crushing it, bro. I love when you do that. When like 40 minutes into the day, you're like, all right, made my money. I'm out. I'm so jealous of you. But good, bro. Congrats. Oh, okay. It's on the TOS charts. Very cool, guys. Thank you for the insights. I'm actually really mad at the chat. I might turn on the camera for a second. All right, I was going to turn on the camera to show you guys this book, but I guess I won't now because I just turned it on and I look terrible. Um, yeah, so a couple weeks ago, I asked the chat to give me a suggestion for like learning resources to learn options. And somebody suggested this book, Options as a Strategic Investment by Lawrence McMillan. And so I ordered it and it just came in the mail. This is a fucking textbook. This book is like thicker than any college textbook I've ever gotten in my life. It's like so fucking dense. It's got over 1,000 pages. So anyway, I just wanted to say a giant fuck you to whoever recommended this to me. Did you forget I'm dyslexic? It's going to take me 10 years to read this thing. But anyway, I'm just kidding. I'll dig my way through it eventually. Trading Donkey. Going long up here is a dumb idea in my opinion. Yeah, I could get behind that. It doesn't feel as strong a move. Oh, I don't know. Then I click on the ticks and I'm like, they're trending higher. So the market got a gap and go. It's one time framing higher. Value is higher. There's nothing bearish in this. Not yet, anyway. Looks like there'll be some resistance in 28, looking back from a few weeks ago. Just look at this thing on the daily. It's a straight line. That is so nuts. But we were up inside the balancing area, the very top balancing area in here. And it is not uncommon once you break back into a previous balance to trade to the opposite end, which is the all-time high. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to think we need a double top on the market to get some kind of pullback. Doug, I have that book. I use it every day. It holds my office door open. Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate it, Donkey. I'll definitely try to dig through it. It's just that's going to be tough for me. I do need a picture book. Yeah, Jim Dalton's books took me some grinding to get through as well. Yeah, Jeff, I totally agree. Fred, you're saying you're calling BS on it because you don't think they're buying the underlying stocks enough? You think it's being pushed by the futures and the ETFs? Is that what you're saying? Arthur, you waiting to buy, Charles, till it comes down? Well, you should have already bought. The market gave you tons of time to get in here. But yeah, now you want to wait for a pullback to find support. This was the buy down here. When the B period was finding support, that was the buy. They made it hard this morning because of the NQ fucking with us. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. Don't fight momentum. Arthur, what happens when you're dyslexic? It just makes it hard to read because your brain mixes up letters and stuff. So, like, the way you read, when you see a word, your brain just like sees the word and automatically recognizes what it is. My brain a lot of times gets confused. So, like, when I'm reading sentences, it's like my brain is skipping over certain words that it doesn't understand and then just like guessing what they are. It's really hard to explain verbally, but yeah, it's just hard to read is basically what it means. It's hard to understand deeply what you're reading. You have to like read it a few times through to really make it click. And should I get Mind Over Markets? Absolutely. I think both Jim's books are great. So Ashik, I just answered this question, but the buy was lower. The buy was when the B period was building this node of volume down here. That was the buy. You can buy now for continuation, but you might have to accept if the market pulls back in here, like back down to like halfback, looking for support, you're going to have to accept that risk. Donkey, as always, thank you for the daily reminder that oftentimes this market will trend one direction into the B period and then completely reverse on us out of nowhere. Ed, yeah, D and B are a nightmare. F and T. Yeah, Ed, you're absolutely right. A huge chunk of Fortune 500 CEOs are dyslexic. It gives a different perspective on life. That can be an advantage. And I don't even think it's the dyslexia. It's having to learn to adapt to a world and to make sense of a world that's not built for you. You know what I mean? When you're going through school, if you have learning disabilities, like there's no real support for you. You're sitting in the same classroom with, 30 other kids. And, if they don't have learning disabilities, you just have to keep up with them. And so you learn from a very young age how to do that, how to figure out your own way to excel. And so later in life, that's a really powerful skill to have. Okay, so we're leaving some single prints behind here as we print the C period. So those are likely to get backfilled at some point today, but we'd be looking for support right there at the base at 45.25. So somebody was asking about where to buy. That would be a spot. Market pulls down to here. It starts building in support. Starts getting a little volume. That's a buy right there. J Trader, yeah, I always tell people if you only want to get one of the books, get the newer one, Mind Over Markets. It's pretty much got all the same stuff as the first one. Arcalion, this market likes to leave one single print. Yeah, that's another sign of the momentum, that those momentum traders are in charge. So they're leaving weakness behind, one after another. But that's what they do. We went over it yesterday, looking at the daily. When I look back at these times and I remember what I was thinking when the market was doing this whole time, I'm thinking it has to go back down. But then they just kind of hung around up here. And then finally, when they looked above and failed, then they came back and completely, fixed all the weakness that they left behind. Did it here again, created all this weakness. And up in here, I'm like, it can't keep going. But then it just rotates sideways, successfully breaks out, but then fails, pulls back down, cleans up all the weakness they left behind. Did it again. So I'm just saying we may eventually get the pull back to repair all this weakness, but it doesn't have to happen today. We can just go up and then go sideways for a while at higher prices. You're right, Donkey. I haven't even been doing it today. I got to get long here. I'm literally going to do it right now. All right, guys. So that is it for me today here on the public stream. If you want to stick with us, there's a link in the description to join the Brigade. It only costs $10. Join the party. For those of you that are in the Brigade, I shall see you over there in a moment or two. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.